Hello. Today we're going to talk about our experience at the warming house and how we planned and prepared a meal for 50 guests. Our time at the warming house definitely came with obstacles, but because our team has been working together so closely for the past semester, we were able to face these problems head on and find solutions to them.
For part of our project, we got to go to the warming house, and it was really an eye-opening experience. And I mean, everyone's familiar with it, but it's basically one of the oldest student-run soup kitchens in the nation. And we were kind of curious, even before this project, because I've heard of it and know people that volunteer there. I was kind of curious that how it got affected because of COVID, and if any of their business day-to-day operations changed. So I was fortunate enough to interview someone that works there who's actually a good friend of mine, named Nathan Parrish, and he's a junior at St. Bonaventure. And so I asked him some intro questions like, how do you get started with warming house? And he basically said that he reached out as a freshman, seeing if he could get a work study job, and was really just trying to do something for a good cause and also get some money off his student debt. And then I started kind of focusing more on the business side of things. And I asked him like if there's any tips or tricks or influences from other restaurants nearby that have helped the warming house succeed during COVID. And he said that was a big part of the interview he wanted to talk about and change because he said they definitely like took notes from other restaurants around, and especially the takeout delivery system was huge. They had to learn from other restaurants like how to manage it efficiently and kind of like what materials you need. And he said the university also did a great job during the warming house struggles because they provided them with a disinfecting solution called Virex. And he said they use this to fill the bottles and solutions up each week at St. Bonaventure to make sure they're staying safe and following the guidelines. And then I also asked him if any of the employees or volunteers receive any extra benefits just because of COVID. And since it's obviously a nonprofit student run organization for the most part, he said they don't really get any extra treatment, and actually, it's gotten worse for volunteers because they're now more afraid of volunteering just because of their safety and COVID risk. So he said it's dropped a little bit in attendance, but they're still making it work. And then from there, it kind of progressed, and I asked more COVID related questions. So I asked how COVID affected his own work schedule there, and he said it didn't really affect his hours since he's only once or twice a week, just because he was busy during school. But he said it affected the attendance a lot. And made a lot of meals go up. They usually tripled or doubled each week for how many they had to make for people. And this is just, it's not necessarily there's more people, there were, but it was more because they didn't want to make daily trips there, so they'd stack up on meals for maybe the week or a couple of days in advance. And so that also affected his inventory and supply there at Warming House. He said they definitely took a hit there. But touring it, they still have a lot of good food options and nutrients to make meals that are beneficial to people. It's just they've had to be more frequently buying stuff at the grocery store and getting donations.
Going into the warming house project, I knew it was going to be a lot of work that we needed to use our four functions of management to accomplish. So the first stage was planning, and we had to go over to the warming house as a group about a week and a half prior to check the inventory and plan and coordinate what meal we were going to be making. This took communication with Alex Miller Nation, and also we had to look at the whiteboard they had listing all the meals leading up to the day that our day was in order to prevent repeats. One big thing we had to keep in mind is that we wanted our meal to be healthy and balanced, especially considering some of the facts of food insecurity. The next thing we had to do was organize how we were going to make that meal. And so this included planning the recipe and deciding which one we were going to use. And the day of, also delegating what tasks needed to be done. Luckily, the day we were there was a ton of other volunteers. It was a Sunday afternoon, and so a few girls had taken over dessert, a couple other people did a few other things, and our group was mainly responsible for the tuna melts and the soup. And so Megan and I quickly got to work opening all the cans of tuna and straining them, and Jake and Adam went downstairs to the inventory, to where they keep all the inventory, and got the ingredients for soup. And so when it came to leading that day, we did a lot more listening to Nate Parrish, who was in charge. And then when it came to controlling what was going on, there was a lot of uncontrollables. And so something went very unplanned, well, a couple things. One thing was that they were missing ingredients needed for the soup, and so we kind of had to improvise. It was an unfortunate miscommunication, but we ended up still getting creative with the soup and cooking one up. We also ended up burning the bacon, so we had to scratch that and just keep going and push through. It was a little stressful because there was a time limit. Obviously, everything had to be out and prepared by 3-4 o'clock, whatever it was. And so when it came to packaging, there was an assembly line, and we all kind of worked together to scoop the soup into the little containers, put the containers on, put them into the bags, make sure the water was in there. And then all throughout the way, sanitizing was a huge thing, especially during a global pandemic. And so there's a very distinct process to washing all of the dishes and then cleaning the entire place and keeping it ready to go for the next people and the next day. Overall, I mean, I had never been to the warming house prior to that day or prior to checking inventory. I've never cooked a meal at that scale for anyone, so I thought it was a great experience just to kind of learn about management, and it was also just a great thing to do. I'm really happy that the class involves a project like that.